Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Mirror Gaming Walkthrough. It's a pleasure to be here on this lovely, if a little bit overly warm Wednesday afternoon to talk all things video games with you. So this is the Mirror Gaming Walkthrough, the weekly gaming news show full of spicy takes and juicy gossip. This week we're going to be talking about the PlayStation 5 Slim, the Meta Quest 3, as well as lots of other bits and pieces as well. So thank you for sticking around with us. But before we get into that, as always, let's roll titles.
Are you prepared to go public with your KD online or
no?
Everyone thinks he or she is the best football expert on the planet.
You see it in the back page of the Mirror, deal agreed.
I think the most important thing is just to have fun. What?
310?
No, what button is it?
Well, hello.
We're ready to come for the W, yeah?
Ooh, 12. Ooh.
Here we go. If you can master second man press, you will defend 10 times better.
Today I'm going to be reviewing the PSVR 2 headset.
Yep, so here we are. You saw a little glimpse of Jasmine's VR reviews in the little pre-credit sequence there. We'll be getting deep into something else. But I'm Aaron Potter, gaming content creator. It's my pleasure to be joined by Matt Aldous, who this week is the COD Call of Duty Complaints Department. How are you doing, Matt? And why won't they put Terminal in the new COD, even though I know they are? But yeah.
Well, Call of Duty's getting maybe less complaints than they were before, so I'm doing all right.
Nice. And we've also got Jasmine Manan, hardware expert. How are you doing, Jasmine?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. A bit sad this week because it's been a very busy week for me, but I'm still here. Still to talk about all things hardware, even though my brain is literally rattled after this week, but chugging on anyway.
We are firmly in the busy season now. Games are coming out left, right, and center. I didn't realize it was so hardware centric, and that's without mention of a particular piece of portable PlayStation hardware, which I shan't name, obviously.
You already did. You already did.
Not by name. I didn't. I haven't summoned.
That was the official name for it.
Yeah. But no, anyway, speaking of all things PlayStation, we got Scott McCrae in the chat saying Aaron Snotter, as if I haven't heard that 1,000 times before, Scott McCrae, and I thought you were above that, but no. Anyway, just another day of going down in my estimation of you. Anyway, so yes, the PlayStation 5 Slim has been revealed. We're off the rails. Nathan's not in this week. So yes, after much debate and long rumors, the PlayStation 5 Slim model was finally revealed by PlayStation yesterday, where we learned that the console has been reduced in volume by 30% in size. It will launch this November at the same price as the existing PS5 model, $479.99 sterling, although it will be available in two different SKUs, one with a disc drive and one that is digital only, the digital only one retailing for slightly less, in fact quite a bit less, at $389.99. Those who elect to purchase the digital-only PlayStation 5 Slim will have the chance to purchase a detachable disc drive. Try saying that when you're drunk at a later date for the price of $99.99. There's also a new vertical stand that retails for $24.99. So there's no difference in power between the current PS5 and the PS5 Slim, although the new model does come with a slightly expanded hard drive of 1 terabyte, up from 825 gigs. PS5 Slim pre-orders have already opened up in the US, with other regions rolling out very soon. So I think I'm going to take this to our resident hardware expert straight away. Jasmine, the PlayStation 5 Slim, I believe all three of us on this podcast are actually in possession of a PS5 now, or that wasn't always the case. So, what do you make of the PlayStation 5 Slim? How does it look to you?
I think it's kind of like what we were expecting after all of the rumors surfaced earlier this year, right? Because it was always like, oh yeah, it's going to have a detachable disc drive. And then we had this whole discussion on the podcast about what that means for the future of games. And people were telling me that I was wrong because I said that this is going to push towards a more digital only future. And everyone was like, oh my God, Jasmine, who cares? I care, first of all. But I think it's just it's a PS5 Slim. There's not really anything too exciting about it, in my opinion. And I don't know if it's like a thing that people are always demanding, like a smaller console, because this is like a thing with PlayStation's right, bringing out a PlayStation and then the Slim version. I don't get why, because who cares if it's like 1.5 kilograms lighter? Because I'm not carrying around my PlayStation everywhere I go with me, so I literally don't care.
I know some people sometimes have to. some people have to transport a PS5 halfway across London sometimes. So in that instance, the fact that it's lighter might help. But
Right, that was it. That was literally not my fault. That was literally not my fault. Don't start pinning this on me. Lewis chose to do that. Lewis chose to do
I mean,
that.
I feel like Lewis had to do that. You know, for me.
Well,
for the
there you
benefit
go.
of us all and viewers as well. Little
There we
inside
go.
track
That
then,
means that's
yeah.
Matt's fault.
Yeah,
But
that's what I was trying to
secondly-
do. I was trying to take the blame.
Okay, thank you. But yeah, I just think that generally, like, the footprint of the console is already so big. Even though they've reduced the size, it's still like a massive console. It's going to take up pretty much the same amount of room on your shelf. And I've seen a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of people, I'm not going to name any names, talking about, oh, the PS5 Slim is so much nicer looking. I think I'm going to get it because it's so pretty. It looks exactly the same. You're lying. What are you talking about? It's exactly the same.
Oh, that's literally what I was going to say. Is like, I don't understand. If you're going to release a new version of the console, at least have a little bit of a redesign. You know, it looks the same. It's just got a little bit of a black stripe.
They've made it shiny instead of matte now, or matte instead of shiny. Other way around.
All the
something
better
like that.
for your fingerprints to get
Right?
stuck
Perfect,
onto
isn't
then.
it?
Oh.
I
There we
mean,
go.
personally, I have never liked the PS5 design. I think it's like one of the ugliest consoles ever released.
Really? I prefer
Yeah.
it to the Xbox, the current
It
generation
looks-
of Xbox.
When you
Yeah.
stand it up, it looks like a vampire. Like it's
What
not.
does that mean?
It's
Literally,
not.
where
It's
did that
got
come
like
from?
a big collar, like Dracula.
looks
It
like
looks like
Tiber
Dracula.
From
Like
Yu-Gi-Oh!
And I just think it's not very pretty. It doesn't really fit in like a home situation. Like, you know, you've got your TV and then you've got like your
It reminds
Skybox
me so
and your,
much of
and
the
your
Nintendo
console.
Wii.
It's just out. It sticks out like a sore thumb in your living room. And this would have been a really good opportunity to just make something a little bit sleeker, but it's not. It doesn't
But
look any different.
That's the worrying thing, because I think in their minds they have. Like, they're like, oh, we got rid of this, because you know what the disc drive looks like. It protrudes from the side.
But it
And I
still
feel-
does when you buy the attachable
know.
one. It still
I know.
looks the same.
We can get into the attachable disc drive, because I'm like, guys, what are we even doing here? Like, why?
Tell them.
Anyway, but I will say, like, just speaking to the consoles, like the current PS5 model size, it is big to the extent that when I was moving into my flat and looking for a new TV unit, it was literally every TV unit I was looking at. Oh, this is perfect. Size it up. Oh, it wouldn't fit my PS5 in, and that was the main determining factor. That's how much these consoles run my life. But I said this on Twitter as well. I was like, rather than sleeking it down sort of in terms of width, I'm surprised they didn't like shrink it in terms of height.
Yeah,
because
it's really tall.
I have it on the side, and like, you know, the width of it when it's led down doesn't make a difference, but it's so tall, and
Yeah.
especially the digital version without a disc drive, I feel like that was an opportunity just to make it almost sort of like square, almost kind of like a Nintendo Wii. But then maybe they wanted some like visual consistency, and obviously they want to give people the option to add a disc drive for some reason. Like we said this argument, or at least I did, when the PS5 and the original PS5 digital SKU was coming out. Like, why buy the digital only one when you're going to end up paying more for games in the long term, because games are more expensive on the digital storefront like now? So I just it baffles me. And like, they think they're solving an issue, which I think like people have already made their minds up this generation if they want to go physical or digital or not. That's just where I'm coming at
But
it
I
from.
think the difference in size is so minimal. Like, the PS5 Slim is 1.6 centimeters smaller in width, and everything else is exactly the same. That's it. 1.6. What is that? Like this much? What difference is that going to make to me when I'm putting it on my TV unit? I already can't fit it in my like TV unit. Like Aaron was saying, I have to have it stood up next to my TV on the side. It looks ridiculous, and then I have everything else in my units. So like, it's already crazy. That difference. What's that going to do for me? Sony, like, please answer. I'm asking you seriously right now. I want an essay.
Yeah, Jim
answering.
Ryan, come
What
on,
is that?
explain.
What's that doing?
Before you jettison out of PlayStation, let us know. We got some comments, people chiming in. Kotax is trying to scrounge for another code beta for Modern Warfare 3 on PC.
Although, can I answer that? I think we will maybe be doing a PC stream for MW3, and we may or may not have some codes to
But
give away.
here's
So
the thing, Matt, I know for a fact that Kotax has already had one.
yeah,
So-
for console. So and it's
All right.
and it'll be the same. It'll probably be the same system. So it's just who's got the fastest fingers, who can
It'll be more
redeem it
discs,
first.
to install on PC, I guarantee you. Nathan's chiming in just with a little laughing face. Scott says Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 just announced more DLC, a real reason to mention Goku as opposed to every other time. Then we've got the man himself, Lewis Barton, obviously, which you'll know from the Lewis Barton FC show. He said, yes, because I love spending my spare time transporting PS5s in broken bags across the country. Well, at least it's the bag that's broken and not the PS5. Nathan says, who cares about the width? Make it smaller in height. This is exactly what I was saying. I joked on Twitter. I was like, forget the PlayStation Slim. We need the PlayStation Squat. That's what I'm after. But Jim Ryan hasn't got the neck to do it. Let's get it out there. And JD makes a good point. Nice to see you, JD. He says, unless you buy from CD keys. But even when compared to PC Steam code, the price of like console games on CD keys is still...
You barely find discounts like that are significant like they are with PC games. You get PC games for like half price on CD keys. But then console games are like 5% savings. And it's like, oh my god, it's at 5%, such a difference.
Yeah.
So,
and I feel like people have got this like, well, once physical games are gone, then the companies can just reduce the digital prices to what they would be because they don't have to keep the retailers happy. I'm like, if you think that they're going to reduce the standard price of games once they go digital from $69.99 or whatever it is, you're living in a dream world because they're going to
go up. They're going to go further up.
Oh, I mean, they're always going up.
I mean, I'm all digital when it comes to console because only because I don't play console often enough to warrant like, when I want a game, it's convenience over having to go out and buy it or order it and wait for it. So, and it's few and far between. It's like maybe 2-3 games in a year. So for me, like digital does work, but like there's a lot of people obviously that aren't like that and they're wanting to buy games all the time. And but that's just
I think there are
my
a lot
thought.
of games as well that don't come out on discs, like especially like whenever I think
more and more so, definitely.
My game collection, I mainly think of the Nintendo Switch, where most of my Nintendo Switch games are games that are only available in the eShop because they're either like from smaller developers or I don't know, like they just don't release physical copies of them anymore because people are so used to picking them up on the eShop. So that's what I always think about.
Well, in the case of Nintendo, like we saw it, I think it was January or February this year, where Metroid Prime Remastered was announced and it was available to buy digitally, like immediately, but you had to wait like a month for the physical edition. But I think the reason that Nintendo did that is because they didn't want the announcement to leak from a retailer. They wanted to keep it a genuine surprise for everyone. But that's a case of like, get in early by buying it digitally. Lewis Barton says, just re-release the PSP. And I'm like, Lewis, you're speaking my language. Scott said they did the same for Pikmin 1 and 2 as well. And yeah, he's quite right. So Nintendo seems to have a habit. But Nintendo, I would say more so than other platforms, they tend to support physical media just in generally because they know that they're players. They tend to be more collectors than I would say Xbox and PlayStation people.
I would agree,
There's always like with Nintendo game, there's always the increased chance that you'll get a cool booklet and stuff. JD
not anymore.
Says, not as much anymore, Nintendo. JD says, I love a Nintendo Shadow Drop. Me too. So a couple more questions on the PlayStation 5 Slim. Are you tempted to pick one up? If not, who is the PS5 Slim for? Do we see this replacing the current model? Like this time next year, will it be impossible to buy a standard PS5, as is what tends to happen? And
Probably.
The PS5 Slim is just becomes the standard, yeah?
Well, yeah, I
probably.
mean, Sony did say in their announcement that once all stock depletes of the current PS5, that was it. And I don't really see people doing away with their PS5s now, like selling them to get their hands on the Slim or anything like that. I just think current console is going to just sort of become obsolete, but it's not going to become obsolete in a way that people are suddenly going to start caring and buying them. I'm sure there are still scalpers out there that have got hordes of PS5 sat there, like nothing to do with them anymore. Do you know what I mean? So I think I don't see it. I see it replacing the current PS5 at retailers and stuff, but not in terms of like everyone's going to rid of their.
Yeah, I don't think there's any incentive for people that already have a PS5 digital or disc,
unless they've got the perfect TV unit, but it's just a millimeter to
But even that means that they're going to be shoving it in. Do you know what I mean? Like shoving it in because it's that 1 centimeter smaller and it's probably going to like crack stuff. And then they can never get the detachable disc drive, which is, I feel like a big point of it.
What I don't
it's not
get
Slim anymore with that.
This this little stand they're selling individually for
Oh
25
my
English
God.
pounds.
Oh my God.
25 quid for a little bit of see-through plastic like that.
Oh my God, don't even get me started. Don't even get me started. Because it stands up already by itself. It stands up on its own. I'm going to pay £25 so I can have a ring around it. Take up more space on my unit. What are you talking about? What are you talking about,
The
Sony?
stand, the old
And it's
stand comes with the
ugly.
current model. Yeah,
It's ugly. It's so hideous looking. It's not like, oh, it looks nice. It's got some RGB and it matches like the design of the PS5. It's round and silver. What's silver on the PS5? Answer.
nothing.
Did you hear that, everyone? Silence. Silence.
Crickets. JD says, I think the PS5 Slim carries the same role as other Slim models. It's likely a proven method to sell more PS5s. I don't think it's about special features. But here's the thing with it, that usually happens with a Slim model, and I think it speaks to the current economy that we're in. A Slim model used to launch for less than the standard.
Yeah.
But this is the exact same price. And they've tried to like stealth it by saying, well, the digital only one is secret, a little bit cheaper. But guess what? The existing digital model is only a little bit cheaper. And to Matt's point earlier, obviously, I don't know if you had a PS2, Jasmine. I guess you did.
I did.
Everybody did. But obviously, the fat PS2 had the disc tray that actually like came out, and the PS2 Slim had the like open top sort of like insert. Yeah. I think most people did. So it's not even like it functions differently. It's just bizarre. But they had to do it, I guess. All this R&D would have been done long before even the OG PS5 was released. So they're just seeing it play out. Adam L, thanks for joining us, Adam. Good to see you again. Says, this is why you should all just stop console gaming and join the PC master race.
I absolutely agree, Adam L. Thank you very much.
Matt,
I mean,
give me
I
the
think
full screen.
I think me and Matt are like PC master race. So
the PC master race. What are you talking
okay,
about?
I don't actually agree with PC master.
I
play whatever games you want to play on whatever platform you want to play them, but have fun spending.
Be safe.
Spending $5,000 on a PC to play the same games that you can play on a 500 quid console. Just saying, as someone who has a very expensive PC, just saying.
Just like, if you've got the money, just buy all of them.
Yeah,
like, you can do whatever you want.
That's your solution.
Like, you can do whatever you want, provided you can afford it.
Yeah,
buy all of them.
So if you can only afford a Switch, buy a Switch. If you can afford a Switch and a PlayStation, buy a Switch and a PlayStation. If you can afford an Xbox, buy an Xbox.
If you can afford an Xbox, don't buy one. Buy a PS5 instead.
I agree.
Why do we impose these sort of weird societal
oh god, there we go.
It's like fanboyism
to what you should or shouldn't play. But
I think there's evident proof that PC is the worst platform to play on as someone who plays on PC, solely because you can play League of Legends on PC. So that means it's automatically the worst. Yeah. So I'm just saying.
Did you try playing The Last of Us Part 1 on PC earlier this year?
I did, yeah. It was all right.
How did that go? How many times did you have to pause the stream, Matt? How many times?
It was all right after about 6 hours.
Oh, right, yeah.
6 hours of problems, and then it was okay.
So Scott comes in again. We'll forget about the name calling we received earlier. He said, I bought a Switch OLED, and that's what it was. Tell me, look up name call in the dictionary. Okay. I bought a Switch OLED and thought that was a dumb move, but this is even less of an upgrade. I love my Switch OLED.
I also do. I just got my Switch OLED out of the box after ages. And because I was always like, I already have my Switch. It's already got the games on it. I can't be bothered to sit there installing all my games on my OLED again. And I did, and it was the best thing I've ever done. Best thing I've ever done. Yeah. I think that is a major upgrade.
Games you need to play if you have a Switch OLED. Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which me and Jasmine are currently doing, and Astral Chain. Get that played because it pops like a dream. Scott said, Arkham Knight put me off being mainly PC mints. That was a bad launch, Arkham Knight. I remember when that came out. Adam L says, Project Q Master Race then, Jasmine? Yeah. The appropriate
Don't ever say my name in the same sentence as Project Q ever again. I'm done here.
Hold on. I take back everything I said a minute ago. Don't buy a Project Q.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh yeah. Well, obviously you're gonna have to wait. When does the Project Q come out? Is it November or December?
November 15th. So
expect to hear very soon. Like they should be thinking about sending out review units, but watch this space. Adam L says, Jasmine, I have a confession. I relapsed and played 2 games of League last night. Please pray for me.
Adam, I can't do this. I'm not even going to pray for you. I just can't do this. You're not allowed back here anymore. I'm so
Minute
sorry.
silence.
This
Minute
is
silence for Adam L.
We're done. We're done.
Scott says Metroid Dread for the Switch OLED, and yeah, I can't forget it launched alongside the Switch OLED, so probably a good game as well. So anyway, PlayStation 5 Slim, no official release date yet, just sometime next month. Keep an eye out for pre-orders if you want a PS5, I guess. In the meantime, I'm going to be putting my existing current PS5 console in a glass cabinet because it's going to go up in value, right? Once that model.
Yeah, does that mean
I'm
that
sure.
mine's vintage now?
I'm sure.
All ours will become vintage eventually. Yeah. It's like when you see the original Xbox controller, the Duke, I think they call it. How anybody ever played a game on that thing? Yeah. Anyway, from one hardware story to another, the Meta Quest 3 is out now. After its price reveal at this year's Meta Connect conference, Meta's newest VR headset is now out. Available for roughly £180 more than the company's existing Meta Quest 2 headset, the Meta Quest 3 brings with it a slightly more powerful Snapdragon chipset, hand tracking, mixed reality compatibility, and it's also 40% slimmer. Alongside higher resolution and stronger performance, however, the Meta Quest 3 lacks OLED screens, even if it ups the comfortability factor. The Meta Quest 3 is the first piece of hardware released by the company formerly known as Facebook, since it significantly cut back its hopes and prospects for expanding the metaverse. Remember when the metaverse was going to be a thing?
The word metaverse actually sends shivers down my body. Like I feel like really like cringed out by that word. I don't know why.
I every time metaverse, like I see that term, I just see the Nintendo DS Mark Zuckerberg avatar, like, you know, pop up in my head. I don't know if everyone remembers that, but
yeah, I do remember that.
Anyway, you can watch the Mirror Gaming's Meta Quest 3 review live on the YouTube channel right now. So obviously go and check that out after you're done watching us live on the podcast. But Jasmine, you have spent multiple hours with the Meta Quest 3.
I actually have it right here on my desk.
There it is. It does look diddy. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
It does look small, yeah.
Well, it's not actually much smaller than the Meta Quest 2, which I also have on my desk because I was weighing them both. I also have scales on my desk here if anyone wants a live weighing of both of them. But it's like basically the same size. I don't know why it looks so small. And it is slimmer. There we go. Thinner. What was the word they used? Slimmer, isn't it? Look how much
slimmer, yeah.
But it's the same weight, which was like really weird to me and really annoying. I'm not gonna lie, I was like, everyone knows, anyone who's watched any of my streams before knows that I was probably the most excited person on earth for the Meta Quest 3. I was so looking forward to it. I was like, yep, this is going to beat out every other VR headset. Yep, I don't need to buy the Apple Vision Pro, which is $3,500. I'll just get my Meta Quest 3. And then, do you know what? I was so disappointed with it. It's just not as big of an improvement as I thought it was going to be. And it's really upsetting. And I feel like the games that do take advantage of the new chip that I got to try out felt like they weren't taking advantage of the new chip at all. It felt like I was literally just playing games on my Quest 2. And then the mixed reality feature. Like I don't know. It was just bad. Like it was fun and cool, but the novelty wore off really quickly. And then I was kind of just standing there like, why am I doing this? Like, doing this.
Okay, what about like somebody that doesn't or hasn't ever used the Quest 2?
Go and buy a Quest 2. 180 quid
and
cheaper. It's exactly the same thing.
Is that what you would recommend?
100%.
Like, there's no, it's not like. So do you think it's more like an improvement, a slight improvement in certain areas, and then no improvement in other areas, or do you think it's like worse in other areas?
I don't think it's worse in any areas. I think it is improved in some aspects and then not improved in other aspects. Like I think the comfort of it, that's a really big thing with VR headsets that I don't see enough people talking about, how comfortable it is on your face, because you're not going to wear it for ages and play with it if it's hurting your head. But I felt like it felt the same when I was wearing both of them, despite the fact it's got this new Y strap. It's meant to be slimmer. You're meant to be able to adjust the lenses easier. It felt the same when I was wearing it. Like I have this pressure point here where I feel like my Quest 2 is always pushing on it. I'm kind of like, okay, maybe that will change with the Quest 3, and it just did the same thing. And obviously, everyone's head's not shaped the same, so it's not.
Sounds like a you problem. Yeah, I was just going to say. But...
I know, like everyone's head is different, but obviously, like the fact that that was still happening, that doesn't happen when I play with PSVR 2 because that's got a Halo thingy, so there's no pressure on my head like that. It means that the issue can be fixed, but they didn't fix it.
Does the PSVR 2 have OLED screens as well?
Yes, it does.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. But obviously, the main benefit with the Meta line of headsets is that it's portable only, right? It's running games natively, so you don't have to be tailored. So it sounds like it's not really worth the extra 180 games. Because Scott's in the chat says, does Quest 2 have Samba de Amigo, though? Are there any confirmed exclusive Meta Quest 3 games as it stands?
There's Asgard's Wrath 2, which is coming in December, so that's not even out yet.
It's not out now, yeah.
Samba de Amigo Party Central, I think, is going to be an exclusive, but again, that's just like that's not really something. I played that to review the headset, and it's not really something where you're like, oh my god, the graphics on this is stunning. It's a game, it's a Sega game where the characters are like jumping up and down in front of you in front of a big it literally looks like an acid trip. Like, it's scary looking. So that's not something where you need this Gen 2 chip to be able to see. Whether you're on a Gen 1 chip or Gen 2, you're gonna feel like you're on all types of hallucinogens. Like, it's the same. Other than that, I don't think we have any other exclusives. I guess Assassin's Creed Nexus, is that going to be exclusive to Quest 3?
So that is coming to Quest 2 as well.
Well, then there we go. I don't really know what to say then. And because the storefronts are the same, if developers don't put out updates for the Quest 3 and you just download these backward compatible games, you're getting the exact same graphics that you're getting on the Quest 2 anyway, because it's not going to be upgraded if the developers haven't put that out there. That's it.
We got some comments coming in. Nathan says, I think Meta are living in its own mixed reality. And yeah, you might be right there, Nathan. Adam L says, Jasmine, please can you answer the most important question? Does it rip out long hair when you move it or take it off? Jasmine?
It does. I said that in my review. It doesn't rip it out because, I mean, if your hair's being ripped out by Velcro, like, I think you have vitamin deficiency. But it does, like, pull on it, which is really annoying because it's like, okay, who in their right mind thought, oh yeah, here's a strap. We'll make this strap which goes right on top of your head where people have hair, and we'll make it Velcro so it will attach to everyone's hair. Who thought that? The only person that's ever going to benefit from this strap is Matt, because he doesn't have hair on his head. That's it.
Well, we haven't done a Matt hair reveal yet.
But then, like, sometimes when I look at these sorts of things, I don't know if other people are like this, but like, I don't view the head strap in the same way as like, oh, that's part of the thing. Because I view it in a way that they made it as bad as possible so people buy the other head strap that's available for it, the elite strap, because it's more comfortable and it won't rip out your hair, and it won't, like, so they create problems to solve it.
Yeah.
And that I do think that a lot of that sort of design is destructive design on purpose.
I definitely agree with you.
So they can bring out a product that will solve that problem instead of just putting it on the thing at first and then creating like an elastic strap that is more portable that you could maybe use in, like, if you were going traveling or something. They do it the other way around.
They also do this so that they can say that it's very lightweight compared to alternatives on the market, because obviously PSVR 2 has that Halo built in, which makes it much heavier. But the actual fact is PSVR 2 is much more comfortable to wear because it's got that Halo thing. So it doesn't matter that this is.
But it doesn't look as good on a poster, does it? That's the thing in terms
of
like,
marketing.
Yeah. Scott says more like Feta Quest because it stinks. Boo! Put some L's in the chat. Put some L's in the chat for that one. JD says at some point VR headset will be as big as the sack on the RE4's Chainsaw Man's head. Oh, right. I wonder where you were going with that for a second there, JD.
I felt like you made a mistake when you started reading that comment.
Yeah, no, that is verbatim. Yeah. I know what he's talking about, though. So speaking of this, like, there are two versions of Resident Evil 4 that exist for VR now. One for the classic game and one for the one that's coming out for the PS4 2 based on this year's remake. And it's not like the Resident Evil 4 remake VR version is even coming to the Meta Quest 3 either. And I feel like that would have been, they should have locked that down with Capcom, because the last thing people need to do is play Beat Saber again, as great as that game is.
This is the thing with PSVR 2 as well, is that I think that even though I complained about it earlier in the year, I'm like, oh my god, there's not very many like exclusives and stuff. The games that will be coming to PSVR 2, you can kind of already tell that they're going to be much better than it doesn't matter, there's 500 plus games on the Oculus library for me, or the Meta Quest library, whatever it's called now for me, because 90% of those games are just like fiddle faddle, like literally like 20-minute experiences, which is fine, but oh my god, Horizon Call of the Mountains was like one of the best VR experiences I've ever played in my life. And if anyone has PSVR 2 and hasn't played that yet, please go and play that. It's just gorgeous to look at. It's so good. Aaron, don't even you start looking around. You have a PSVR 2 sat in a box in your house. Please
But I don't
play on it.
But that's what I mean. I haven't played Call of the Mountain yet, because do you think that thing's going to get discounted? I ain't paying 50 quid for the privilege, but I'll pay 25 quid.
Good. It's so good.
But that's what happens. You touch upon a good point, because that is what's possible when someone like PlayStation is willing to invest the millions of dollars necessary for making a quality VR experience, rather than relying on third parties all the time who, they try their best, but they don't know the technology as well as the companies that work on the hardware itself.
Yeah, and I think also, obviously, PlayStation know that they're working with their graphics from the PlayStation, which is just so much better than anything that can be in a standalone headset.
Like, everyone always says about Half-Life Alyx, and like everyone's shocked that that's still not on PSVR 2. I guess it was possible to play on the Meta Quest 2, but through virtual desktop, and it's the same for the Meta Quest 3, right? Because it's not, despite the increased power in chipset or whatever, it's not really like what I would look for from an upgrade of the Meta Quest as someone who uses a Meta Quest 2. I don't really care about mixed reality. When people tell me like, oh, you can see in color now when you're in the headset, I'm like, okay, does that help me play better games? No. Okay, not for me then.
I think it just moves forward though, the idea of like being able to play like when you see like I think that it serves a purpose for like FPS purposes, for being able to like just imagine in your house like that. What's that game where it's like some sort of John Wick scenario where like people are breaking into your house and you gotta get them.
You gotta get them.
Being able to see your house in color is kind of important for that to work. So it does move towards like more options in terms of the sorts of like.
Here's what I want to ask you though, Matt. You saw my footage for the mixed reality game that I played that comes preloaded on the Quest. Does that look like a good?
No, I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's good. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm saying it's a step towards being able to be more creative with the sorts of games you can make.
Okay.
So I'm not saying that right now it's good or worth it. To be honest, I'm still in the camp of I'm moving closer and closer towards VR, but I'm still in the camp of it's not good enough yet. Like that's still where my heart is on it. But the more I see year on year of new products coming out and new games coming out for them and what they look like, and I do feel like I'm moving closer and closer to like, I'll kind of want to try that like type, but it's just the beginning of that feeling. I think
I will say like props to Meta though for making sure that the Meta Quest 3 is backwards compatible with Meta Quest 2
100%, yeah.
Because that is something that was a major issue with the PlayStation VR 2. As someone who bought the PSVR 1, and all those games just gone. Because of the stupid Move ones that they elected to use. Adam L says maybe the target audience is exclusively bold people. Maybe. That's
a very strange target audience to have, but fair enough. Maybe I'm just.
There are two things bold people love most in the world: waxing and playing PSVR. Yeah, I don't know. Buffing their bald head. I don't know.
Do you buff your bald head, Matt? I need to know.
Right now, Aaron, you sound like somebody that's never been bald.
I could tell you a story about that. I did have to shave my whole head off once, but that's a story for another day.
Your whole head?
Yeah, my whole head.
just a neck. I'm just a neck, guys.
Sorry, I've got no head. For our CBBC fans out there. And JD Incinerator says, just a thought, Aaron's label, Air Hostess, is that named after a bust it hit? Yes, it is, and I'm sure Scott McCrae is absolutely loving it. So Jasmine, we talked about a lot of the problems with the MetaQuest 3. Where could it improve? Should we get a hypothetical MetaQuest 4? Like, what is going to take Meta's headset to the very next level?
I think most of the issues are actually software based. Like, I think
Right.
they're issues that can be resolved before the end of this year. And that will make me think, oh yeah, it's finally time to get the MetaQuest 3 and recommend it to people. Because I think like one of the main things is that they need to, because they're so reliant on third-party developers to make really good games for their headset, I think they need to put the support in place to allow these developers to provide updates for their games to have the output that you'd expect from this new Gen 2 chip. Because that's where the issue lies right now, is that these games that are backwards compatible and everything, it just looks exactly the same as the MetaQuest 2. So maybe the potential is there for the chip to provide amazing graphics. Developers just haven't been able to do that yet. So I think that's a big sore point for it, that it can improve on very easily.
One thing we haven't touched on yet, and I know is important for people, and I think is brought up in your review, is the topic of battery life. Like, is the MetaQuest 3's battery life?
It's got the same battery in it that's in the MetaQuest 2.
That's what I mean. Like,
which, as a result, means that the battery life is worse because the processor is better, so it's drawing more power, and it's got more cameras on it. It's got RGB cameras on it, which draw more power, which therefore means that the battery life is what's the word? As a result, the battery life is worse than the MetaQuest 2 because it's got the same battery in it, which is just like,
for 180 quid more.
Yeah, I don't know how far advancements have gone into batteries. That's not something that I'm like really, really interested in. But I don't know, they could have just made it a bit bigger or something, I guess.
Is it pass through charging? Like, can you charge it and play it at the same time?
Yes, you can, yeah.
Right.
But then that kind of defeats the whole point of being untethered. That's the whole point of the you're completely wireless.
I think like if you have to plug it in every couple of hours, you know, and
I think that is a thing though with VR. You're not really spending hours and hours.
Yeah, like that. Like it doesn't seem like a big issue to me. Like if the battery lasts a couple of hours and you have to plug it in, like for a bit, and as long as you don't have to go away, like if you can carry on finishing what you're doing, I don't see that as a massive issue. Because unless you're like somebody that travels and loves playing it just on the street.
Yeah, but the cable's only like 2 meters long. So if that's
but longer cables
go and get a big.
Yeah.
I know, but it means you have to go and buy one. It's not like it comes in the box with it.
It's just, but I think that's something. I mean, just personally from my perspective, I've got loads of really long USB-C cables just in a box. Like I don't know when
not everyone's like us, Matt. Not everyone's like us.
I appreciate that, but I like personally, I don't see it as being a massive issue. But if they just keep making it better and keep using the same battery, then that becomes a massive problem. Because as soon as it's just going to be like, oh yeah, you play it for 15 minutes, then you got to charge it. Like that's not going to be any good, is it?
So I got to use the MetaQuest 3 for the first time yesterday. I can't say what it was for, but the entire time I was plugged into like a battery pack that was about yay big. Yeah, and it's quite simple just to like keep have in my pocket. Like it's probably not ideal, but I suppose that is a workaround. And I don't know if there is an official MetaQuest 3 battery pack or battery life extender or something. Maybe that's another excuse for them to release, another peripheral for this thing.
Yeah, they do like portable chargers.
Yeah, exactly. But then again, it's like, it's not really solved an issue. It's just delaying it because then you have to charge that as well as the headset. And crazy stuff. MetaQuest 3, it's out now. Nathan says, is there any better clarity of image? No. I think we've established that there really isn't, unfortunately.
No, there isn't. I think there probably will be. That's why I'm saying, like, holding out hope to see what they do with it over the next few months, especially with like different games and stuff. I think games will probably get upgrades, and maybe my Beat Saber experience, because that's the only thing I play on VR anymore, will be amazing in the next 2 months. Who knows? But right now, no. Like, the games look exactly the same.
That's a shame. That is a shame. That's why we need those exclusives. As I always say, it always comes back to the games, guys.
Mhm.
All right. Anyway, I need to get that printed on a t-shirt. We need to get a merch store sorted. I don't know. And then we can get Matt. What was it? Where are the microwaves? Or from the last
Where
of
the
Us?
fridge is. Where's the fridge?
Oh, the microwave.
Where
I
are
was
the
so
microwaves?
confused.
It's like it was so
Where
long
the
ago now.
fridge? Where's the fridge?
Where's the fridge? Oh,
Yeah, I
crazy.
like that really stuck with you though, like for forever,
Oh.
because you've never forgotten it.
Somewhere on this here YouTube channel, there is a podcast where for 10 minutes straight, Matt is on a rant about how fridges apparently don't exist in the Last of Us universe. So, if it left me a partially
fridge.
Oh, and he also talks about how giraffes are abnormally tall
And they
in
are
that
abnormally
universe.
tall in that universe, yeah.
So that for anyone that's interested in the flaws of the Last of Us universe, you can go and have a watch.
I got
of that.
loads. I got loads of them. You wait for season 2.
I was just going to say, Craig Mazin, you want to watch your back because Matt Aldous
They
is
need to
here.
hire you as a consultant so they can rectify all these issues before the show comes out.
Do you
next
know?
time.
Sometimes
like the
I
duct
watch films.
tape and oh my god.
Sometimes I watch films and I think I think I might be missing my calling as a continuity supervisor on film sets because
Such a specific thing to have talent in.
but not for the big general things, just the tiny silly things. That's what I'm just drawn to them.
They need you every step of the process on set, in the editing bay, at the premiere. What a good life it'd be. Adam L says, were you playing Twisted Metal 3 on the MetaQuest, Aaron? If I was, I wouldn't be able to tell you, Adam. Scott says, Season 2 already has some glaring issues.
We'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see.
Oof.
We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, moving on to what may or may not be our final story of the day. John Riccatello steps down as Unity CEO. I know this is a story that I can't remember who was on the podcast at the time. Potentially, Jasmine, you were here when we talked about this. But mere weeks after the disastrous announcement of Unity's new runtime-free pricing model, where successful games made using the Unity engine would be subject to fees based on downloads instead of sales, company CEO John Riccatello has retired from the role effective immediately. This is despite Unity trying to walk back from several terms of its plan, such as how runtime fees would no longer be retroactively applied to existing versions of software made in Unity. Unity has already announced an interim CEO. Yet already, indie developers have taken to social media to voice their concerns about trusting the platform in future. Despite Riccatello's exit, the stripped-back form of Unity's controversial revenue-sharing model remains in place. I just thought this was an interesting story because I've never seen... Well, A, I never got to talk about it when this story was breaking. I can't remember where I was. And B, I've never seen a company commit financial suicide to this degree ever before in my life.
It's madness. That anyone ever thought that would work.
Just shooting itself in
They
the foot.
absolutely destroyed themselves.
Emptying a whole clip in its foot. More like, just stop, Unity. What are you doing?
And then chucking a grenade down for good measure.
Yeah. Scott McCrae says Sony just lost a boss. That is true. Oh my god! If this guy ends up head of PlayStation, I'm gonna have to sell my PS5.
I don't think he
would get the job. Hopefully, he would not get the job. If
I don't think he'd get any job ever again. I think.
No, I think he's
done.
He's done. Yeah.
I hope he's done because they used the word retired in his statement release statement. But let's not forget, this guy was also the CEO for EA previously as well, back during the time of Mass Effect 3 when all that controversy was going down, when they were continually voted as one of the worst companies in America. I don't think that's true. I can think of a lot worser companies, but this guy, he carries some stink with him wherever he goes, and it just really annoys me that you can fail, but you still end up
at
in these
that
roles.
level. That level, that's the important thing. I think just if this guy manages to get another position, CEO position somewhere, then honestly, it'll be head in my hands. I
think there are some people that
it.
consistently fail upwards their whole lives. There are some people that it just keeps happening for them.
Yeah,
and that there's nothing we can do about it except watch.
Potentially, even after leaving, stepping down, and whatnot, the trust that has been broken is just so huge that Unity might not be a company in the coming years, but from his greed, or maybe not his lone greed. It probably the board of directors. Yeah, whoever was responsible in full for that decision, it's just greed it's a really good story and case study of how greed will eventually destroy you.
So looking into my research in this, because I was kind of like, why would Unity even suggest something like this? And there's the indication that if you read certain things, that Unity is like on a track record to like, it's not as profitable as it once was. So like, if it didn't act drastically, then it was going down the toilet like eventually, because obviously the software is constantly updated. They've got hundreds of employees, you know, and the revenue they're being paid through developer and business subscriptions just wouldn't be enough to carry them. Hence why they were looking for a new model. But having said that, punishing developers who are already nickel and dimed, you know, they're the heart. Without them, the games wouldn't exist. And yet, at every, you know, there's always something. You hit a certain revenue amount, then we dock you this amount. Add on publishing fees, you know, usual stuff. That wasn't the right way to go about it. I'm gonna say it, but this was all a move. The reason they wanted to be paid per download and not sale is because I can't help but feel like the Xbox Game Pass factor is here. Because this happened around the time that Sea of Stars came out, a indie game, turn-based RPG, but built in Unity. They announced, 250,000 downloads on Xbox Game Pass. I imagine Unity's looking at stuff like that and go, hang on a minute. If everyone's playing through it through Game Pass and subscriptions, instead of actually paying for the games, which is the point where we get a cut. And I can't help but feel like as we edge closer to this download future with things like PS Plus, companies are going to try and pull expletive like this.
I
Do you know what I'm
can't
saying?
believe you found a way to pin this on Xbox Game Pass.
I'm
And
just
I
saying it's
can't
back there.
believe I also agree with you about it. That's how insane this is.
Why else would they be interested in getting paid per download?
Yeah.
That's what this is.
Yeah.
Or
That's,
install.
I think it's a general fear of like looking at how other like models in other places have worked, like, and I mean, look at things like the writer's strike at the moment, like it not being paid, like something like this coming along and then steamrolling you into a position where you cannot get paid for your work it shouldn't be allowed, but it happens because when a new thing comes along and it's all exciting, it's very easy to not see that, like those like dark corners of that situation. So I think the fact that they were thinking about it was great, but and like, how else can we do this? But they weren't thinking about the people that matter, and they weren't realizing where the real value in their company was, which was with the third-party developers that were using Unity, and now, you know, they potentially won't ever come back. They're most certainly going to lose a huge part of their customer base through trust, even because like now this could happen again. And I think all I'm thankful for is the like public response and the developer response to it was so loud that something had to happen, because otherwise this would set a precedent for everyone else to really take the mick out of like people, like smaller companies that are struggling and trying to make really good stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
I just want to point out that at this present moment in time, while they've walked back certain terms of the plan, beginning of next year, at least as it stands, they still plan on like laying down a version of this. It might not affect games that are being developed in Unity right now, or obviously have already been released and were made in Unity, but who's to say what's going to happen to people? It's like, that's why if you're a developer, an indie developer starting to make a game from now, the advice is don't do it in Unity, because you don't know what these people might do. They might change their terms of service. And but yeah,
they need to find a new permanent CEO, and they need to say, we're not doing it. We'll figure something else out. But,
yeah,
like,
there is opportunity for them to use this as a scapegoat and say, hey, we don't actually agree with our previous CEO's decisions to do this. We're changing the direction and walking that back, and they can kind of walk away from this, not completely clean, but
I think they're in a position where they could say, look, there is something wrong, and that was the attempt that we made, and it was just so far off base. But like, so we need to figure out a new pricing structure. But it's not that. We don't agree with that. We need somebody else to come in and help us figure this out, and then have an open dialogue with all of those developers about how they would see like that pricing structure looking, and how do we make this like fair? If it's just a pure greed thing though, like they were making enough money, a bit like the FIFA EA situation, where it was like, we want you to pay us 300 million or whatever it was over whatever period of time, just to license using our name, pretty much. They didn't think it through. They just saw the greed and saw the opportunity to get more money, and now they've massively shot themselves in the foot potentially. And I just, unless they're really careful with their next move, like few moves over the next 6 months, it's going to be absolute make or break for them. Yeah.
I just want to say Maheen Kessor is in the chat. Hey, nice to see you, Maheen. JD says, some people have proper power where they can fail and stay afloat. Usually it's those who've been supremely corrupted and seen as important to the shady business interests of the higher ups. And that sort of leads me, I totally agree, JD, and it sort of leads me to because while Riccatello is being used as the scapegoat here, he is voted into that position by a board of directors, and all of them would have signed off on this. Admittedly, he probably came to them with the plan. There's like, here's why it's going to be profitable for our business. Obviously, nobody in that room failed to predict the level of outcry that was imminent. Absolutely madness. I don't see why you couldn't see that. But I do think, like it or not, as I've kind of already indicated, the less and less, like right now, like I can't remember how many sales that EAFC. There was a big story this week where EAFC 24 sold millions of copies. Turns out the kind of like angle there is, turns out maybe the FIFA license wasn't as important as a lot of people thought. Like you don't need that brand recognition because people can tell people are intelligent and they know it's still the same game for all intents and purposes. But it's kind of like, the reckoning's coming. Like the more and more these download services sort of happen, and the less and less important that sales become, you're going to have companies look for other ways. It's the equivalent, to put it in terms that I think at least Matt will understand, Jasmine will understand it as well, but that's like if somebody told you, here's you got an Adobe license. Well, every time a video is watched on YouTube that you edited using Adobe After Effects or whatever, then we get a cut of that. And it's like, hold on, I'm paying you, a subscription fee. That is your money. And the more and more this year goes on, it's clear that subscription fees from people just aren't enough to cover the overheads up the size that these companies want to grow. Because I
absolutely love that he's turned this into an Xbox Game Pass rant. I just want to say, I love that he's done that.
Well, I mean, when this was breaking, there would have been a lot more to say.
Very
but I think
skillful.
I'm trying to look forward ahead, like because they're, what I mean. Like Microsoft's making money, or well, they like to say that they're making money.
Are they?
From the Xbox Game Pass, yeah, but
are they?
It's insane, and I'm not the biggest fan. It has to be said. I was going to say something else then, but I cannot remember. But let's move on to our final story. We've got 5 minutes left of the podcast to go. It's a bit of a weird one, but basically the Microsoft Activision deal could finally be approved by UK regulators this week.
What did I say? Months and months and months ago when all of this was first happening, what did I say? I said, it's Microsoft. Whatever they want to do, they'll do it. Did I not say that? I did. I want it clipped. I want someone to clip it and send it to me. That's what I said. And here we are, however many months later, talking about that exact thing. It's a Microsoft. If they wanted to do it, they would do it. Anyway, sorry. Introduce the topic.
Well, I mean, that really is all there is to it. Like the CMA, which is the UK regulator, the Competitions and Markets Authority, their internal deadline to make a decision was last week. So, and even though the official deadline is October 18th, so the thought is that the announcement, whether or not they give it the go-ahead, yay or nay, could come in the week in between. They'll obviously brief Microsoft before they make the announcement publicly and publish the official record. But it's looking like they gave them the tentative thumbs up already when they granted them the extension to revise their terms. And let's not forget, this was over cloud gaming fears, not even market dominance after Microsoft Activision have something in their possession like Call of Duty or Diablo, but mainly Call of Duty. Jasmine, this was the outcome that I think most people were predicting. Doesn't mean we have to like it. Do you know what I mean? Consolidation, not great. Matt, do you have anything to say on this? Are you shocked, or? I mean, it's not happened
really
yet. They could surprise everyone and say,
of course.
Oh, they definitely won't, though.
They won't, but of course they could. But I mean, I think what was really bizarre about it was how the CMA, after they'd been like, nah, and then America they won in America and were allowed to go ahead with it. And then we were like, or the CMA were like, actually wait for us. Like, that's what it felt like. And now they're like trying to do everything they can to actually work with them to make it happen, rather than to work with them to like see if it's fair. Like, so I think all that's been happening behind closed doors is they're just working with them to be like, right, how do we lay this out so that we can make it happen to get like together? Because it's almost like they were like so firm on it, and then all of a sudden, just as soon as America won, they were like, come back. And I kind of saw that coming as soon as I saw that they won in the States. But yeah, I mean, like Jasmine says, it's Microsoft. They're going to do it if they want to do it, and they'll find a way. And if it doesn't work the first time, they'll do it again and again and again and again and again until they do it, which is kind of what's happened. And I think all that we're going to hear about is, yeah, it's been approved. And then all I can hope for is Call of Duty is looked after that point.
Have you played Call of Duty lately? I don't know.
No,
I don't think it's even looked after right now. Like,
no, but that's what I mean.
future.
Like from a Call of Duty fan perspective, it's like, well, maybe we'll get some better like leadership in like decision making for
maybe
this
they'll finally
game.
fix Overwatch. Well,
Like,
no, it's just never going to happen.
But better leadership certainly worked out well for Bethesda, didn't it? Anyway, Adam L makes the joke referring to the previous story. Every time we watch the mirror walkthrough, we get charged £1. I know, this is the future that Unity wants. Maheen Kasor says, I still don't fully get this whole story. It's complicated, but whatever Jasmine's take on it is, I strongly disagree.
Maheen, what on earth? That's really unkind.
Oh, Maheen, if you knew the story, like, how have you missed this story as well? Like, you're somebody who's dialed in on games. But yeah, it's what everybody predicted at the end of the day, isn't it? And I hope you're happy. My argument continues to be 68 billion. Think of the games you could have made with that.
Oh my god! Don't even get me started. Do you know what you could do with 68 billion? Do you know what you could do?
That's what it ultimately comes down to, isn't it?
Do they know?
Billion.
Do they think that they're ever going to make that money back?
The Last of Us Part 2 was made for 200 million.
With 68.7 billion, you could make the PSVR 2 standalone.
You can do so much more than that.
That's about it. I think that's where the line.
I think
that's about it. Yeah, like
no, there is so much you could have done with that money, and they are never ever going to make that money back. No matter what the outcome of this situation is, they are never ever going to make that money back. They could own Activision Blizzard for hundreds of years and still not make that money back. Do they know that?
Yeah, because I think that the company will end up like being worth. It's to do with assets and to do with the worth of assets and what you know. So and also I guess that like from a like Aaron points out, like a dominance standpoint, it's a massive move in dominance. So it's like but it
just makes them look stupid. It doesn't make them look dominant. This is the whole thing about Microsoft.
To you and me and maybe, but you know,
these are the guys that are releasing a spherical console next year, guys. A cylinder.
But this is the thing, is that Microsoft consistently make themselves look stupid by making these types of moves and going, yeah, all we're going to do is just acquire, because we can't do anything ourselves. We can't develop anything ourselves. This is the thing. If you put £68.7 billion, whatever it is, into R&D, do you know what you'd end up with? Your own fantastic game studio.
But the problem they're not actually handing over $68.7 billion in like £10 notes and then being like, can we have this please? It's not, it doesn't work like that. It's like, it's to do with leveraging assets and stuff. Like, so that money isn't actually, it's just numbers on a screen. So I know, it's not. I
don't even think money could solve Microsoft's issues. That's what I mean. Like the reason they're acquiring rather than building from the ground up, sorry, Matt, is because they haven't got time. Time's not on their side. People need games now. Do you know what I mean?
But also, I mean,
even acquiring time's not been in their side. They've just delayed game after game after game, and the games come out and then they're crap. So what was the point of acquiring? No offense, Bethesda, no offense at all, but oh my god, what on earth is going on? What has acquiring Bethesda actually done for Xbox? I don't. I don't know.
Redfall got its 60 FPS patch. That should have been the headline
Oh,
story.
thank God. Hallelujah. It finally happened after 6 odd months. Hallelujah. Now I can
I
finally play
know.
it.
We
60
should do another
FPS.
stream
Should've been
again,
able to do it on
Jasmine.
release. Don't say that to me. No, thank you. I'm all right.
Jasmine's like, I don't want to reinstall.
No, why thank you. But I just don't understand like why Microsoft continuously make themselves look worse and worse and worse in the gaming space.
Right. As a final note of this, all right, 2 final notes. 1, if you bought Redfall physically at launch, you can peel off that sticker at the back now. Congratulations. You made it this far. 2nd, I've completely lost my point. But we've got some comments. Sorry about that. Well, my point comes back to me. It's off the. It's gonna come to me, guys. It's gonna come. Maheen says, I still don't fully get the whole story. It's a couple. Oh no, we had that one. JD says, I'd like to see the Mirror Gaming have a gaming podcast where you'll talk about the games you've been playing. Maybe
just be Call of Duty every week for me.
Matt will be Call of Duty. Lewis be FIFA, and then I'm not being.
And then every once in a while, party animals.
Party animals. A lot of the time, we probably won't be able to talk about what we're playing either, which is the annoying thing. And then Adam L says, Jasmine catching strays for no reason.
Thank you. Says, back me, please. Thank you.
I know, but it's about the laws and stuff. It's complicated. I don't get it. Maheen, Xbox, greedy. That's all you need to know. Oh my God, I can't believe you just said that. Adam L says, they don't have time for gaming, JD. Nathan has them working until bedtime. Will not confirm or deny. JD says, I understand they've been working in a draconian climate. Right, maybe I should put a pin in this now. We are all working healthy hours for the most part, I would say.
Nathan is never letting us on stream without him again. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, that's it. When mum and dad's away, the kids do play. I can't remember my point, unfortunately, guys, but 68 billion, crazy stuff.
I can't believe you can't remember that. It's really agitating me now. Thanks for that.
So sorry about that. I'll let you know at the beginning.
You get a text at 2 a.m, like I've remembered.
It's going to be doing my head in as well, so apologies for that, guys. But I think that brings us to the end of this week's Mirror Gaming Walkthrough podcast. Whenever I host, I like to shout out everybody who's commented. So thank you, JD. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Maheen. Thank you, Scott. I guess. Thank you, Nathan. Aaron Snotter, words like that cut deep. Thank you, Lewis. Thank you, and thank you, Kotax, as well. If indeed you didn't get a Call of Duty mod beta code for Modern Warfare 3 for PC, stick around, watch the streams. But I've got my eye on you, Kotax. All right. Jasmine, Matt, thank you very much for staying on this roller coaster ride of a show with me.
Thank you for having us.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'll probably be banned from the podcast for the indefinite future. So it was nice while it lasted, guys. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your week, everyone, and we will see you next Wednesday for another edition of the Mirror Game Walkthrough. Bye-bye.